We're, hello, everyone. It's Thursday, October the 19th, and every time I look and see October the 19th, I think about my mom. Today's my mom's birthday, but I sure miss her. But nevertheless, right off the get-go here, the person I can talk about is her brother. And her brother was Pose Perry, and we lost Pose, just a few years ago, and really not long ago at all, maybe less than a year ago. And but anyway, he was known as Posey Perry, and Posey Perry was we established a $10 million emergency food fund, and I am extremely proud to announce that today we're launching that, and that food fund will supply food, our food banks with an additional $10 million to combat the food insecurity, in West Virginia. It's really great stuff, and now it's open and we're ready to go. And for the food pantries and everything, they will I guess coordinate with the food banks, and so nevertheless, and we'll get this money to them and hopefully be able to help a lot of folks. I mean, this was a great man, and like I said, he's my mom's brother, and just a man that worked really hard in the mines until he retired, and then after he retired, he reported down to the food bank, in Man, West Virginia, almost daily. And so, just a man with an incredible heart, a godly man, and somebody that I was really close to. So, it's really good stuff. The West Virginia DHHR has announced new equipment will be provided to the EMS agencies across the state to support overdose response. And so, with all that being said, we picked up $1.5 million from federal funding from the CDC, and we're going to use that to purchase syringes and gloves and sharps, containers, and face shields, and on, all protective equipment for the great people that are working, as our EMS at our EMS agencies, and so that's on the way. Monday at 5 o'clock, we're going to hold a groundbreaking ceremony that is for the new state-of-the-art 120-bed veterans nursing facility in Beckley. I'll also announce the name of the nursing facility at that time, and we'll honor a highly decorated Southern West Virginia military veteran. So please come out and join us at that. Like I said so many times, we owe everything we have in life to our military, especially our veterans, and more importantly than that, our Gold Star families and all those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. So please, if you can, and you're in the Beckley area, join us at 5 o'clock on Monday. Okay, now, this is in recognition of West Virginia Airmen. They were a group of 27 airmen from the 167th Operations Group in Martinsburg, and really and truly what they did, these great men and women, that are being recognized, being recognized for their courageous effort in the massive evacuation, that happened in Afghanistan. Now, we all know, that there was a big-time debacle in that, and the Biden administration really let us down in many ways, but not these folks. I want to read just a couple things here to you. Major Samuel Harrison and his crew made 3 trips from Kabul, airlifting over 1,100 people to safety, including the pregnant, the sick, the elderly, and on and on. Many of these were unscheduled nighttime aerial flights and aerial refueling. It is amazing when you think about the courage of these men and women and all that they did. So God bless each and every one of you, and congratulations. You're receiving incredible honors here, and so again, thank you so much. We've got another historic act to recognize. A fellow, his name is Donnie Ratford. He's driving a passenger bus. There was an accident. Unfortunately, the driver of a vehicle that was involved in the accident and everything lost their life. But Donnie, the bus all of a sudden exploded in fire and smoke, and Donnie went into the bus and rescued 14 people and got them out to safety. And so from that standpoint, Donnie, we appreciate you, acting very quickly and everything, and saving and being very, very, very essential in saving these people's lives. And so thank you so much. Here's something that's unbelievable as well. It's and the headlines to this is first girl wins golf state championship in West Virginia. Now let's just talk just a second about this. This is a young lady. Her name is Kenne Cook, and she's from the school of West Side. It's right on the other side of Oceana. Well, think about it just a second. My grandparents, my mom and dad, one of them on one side of Oceana and one of them on the other. I can remember my grandparents, for crying out loud, they never missed an Oceana ball game ever. It was unbelievable, when Oceana went on to the state tournament and everything, always there. In fact, went to the state tournament in basketball every year, way, way, way up until they were very elderly. Now, with all that being said, think about this just a second. I played so much golf at this little golf course. It's called Clear Fork Valley. It was a 9-hole golf course for a long time. And then it got moved up to an 18-hole golf course. I can remember, just like it was yesterday, seeing kids that, that didn't have much at all. In all honesty, there was many, many, many kids in their family and everything. I think in a size of a family of 12 or so. With all that being said, you would see these kids, and they would be in shorts and no shirt and no shoes. And they'd be out walking in the swamps, because there were swamps not far from the fairways. And they'd find golf balls, and they'd clean them, and they'd resell them to people and everything. An area of the world that really was pretty doggone tough. There were some great, great, great golfers that came out of Clear Fork Valley. I think about Paul Bailey, and I think about Benny Bowles, and I think about, Mike Cusick, and I think about Benny Bowles' son, that were great golfers, in this little community on this very small golf course. I played there many, many, many times. And now, Kenne Cook from Clear Fork Valley and Oceana wins the first girl state championship, the AA state championship. She shot 10 over par, and I don't know if that's multiple days. I'm sure it is. She shot 10 over par, playing against the boys, and won. So Kenne, way to go. It's great stuff. Brings back a lot of incredible memories for me, but really, really proud of you. Okay. West Virginia has been named, from a standpoint of tourism, here we go again. West Virginia has been named the most affordable in the country, and the third best overall state to live in for retirees in the entire country. I mean, it just keeps happening over and over and over and over. What is happening is the world, the nation continues to look and say, "Dag, how could we have missed this? How could we have absolutely told all those bad jokes about West Virginia? How could we have absolutely said West Virginia is that place that's dingy and dark and poor and backward and all those things? How could we have said all of that?" But now, all of a sudden, this wonderful state is awakening to a lot of good stuff. I've told you about getting out and seeing God's work and that's on display all across our state with this incredible foliage. Go do that. I want to tell you about Blackwater Falls and the state park sled run tickets I guess are being sold now. The return of the popular Blackwater Falls State Park sled run is right around the corner, and tickets go very, very quickly. You really need to get on that, if that's something of interest. Here's something that is absolutely an essential in every way. Tomorrow is a really important day. We are recognizing it as the National Early Childhood Literacy Awareness Day in West Virginia. And research tells us over and over and over, if we take on the obligation and the responsibility with kids at a very, very young age, and the more that we're able to teach them to read and read to them and everything, the more their performance is off the chart. I'd like to just read this to you real quick, but research tells us that a child's vocabulary at the age of 3 is a strong predictor of their reading proficiency in the 3rd grade. So what we do is, what we're saying basically is just this. The more you have the opportunity to read to a child, at a very, very young age, do that and everything, because it will only make them better and better readers as we go forward. And those folks that are great readers seem to excel in every way. So please, please take this to heart. And I want to just pause just for a second here to thank Kathy, our First Lady, in all the great work that the people, and Kathy is the leader of the band, are doing with Communities in School. Because the Communities in School's effort now, encompasses 100,000 children in about 270 different schools all across the state. With all that being said, the work they do is unbelievable. But it all centers around just this. If a kid's in the school and they're having a tough go, no matter what it is, no matter if they just need somebody to talk to, or maybe they need a jacket, or maybe they need food, whatever it may be, if that kid's having a hard time, there's someone in that school now, that's with Communities in Schools, and those kids know it. And those kids go to them and everything, and they guide them, and they take them on their way, and they help them, and absolutely, it is a program, and I've said it 10,000 times, but I am in the schools with children a lot, and it is the most successful program that I've ever seen in the schools. So with all that being said, congratulations to all those involved in Communities in Schools. Let's just keep doing great work. Okay, we did open the fastest way to Target, and we just did that with the RRL Boulevard opening on Monday. I was able to be there and cut the ribbon and everything. So we've now done something, and we got it done way ahead of schedule. I think the Triton Group and everything did a phenomenal job. I thank Jimmy Riston and all the people with Highways that continue to knock it out of the park. But this is taking congestion away from off our hands, and absolutely making life one step easier, one step better for people, that want to get out and shop. And then Christmas holidays are right around the corner and everything. And so please take advantage. Okay, from the standpoint of, this state is becoming like a mecca sports state. We had an incredible soccer game between the number 1 and number 2, or maybe by the time we had the game, they weren't 1 and 2, maybe they were 1 and 5, or whatever it may be. But the Western University Mountaineers prevailed in this incredible soccer game between, West Virginia and Marshall. Great stuff and everything. Our Mountaineers were on the road against Houston, and it just makes me sick to even to go back and think about it. You know, how on earth, you know, what happened at the end of the game was phenomenal beyond belief. I mean, we saw a pass completion and a kid make an incredible run to go into the end zone for WVU to take the lead with just seconds to go in the game. We saw a Hail Mary with no time on the clock go into the end zone from the 50-yard line and some way, you know, bounce and be deflected up in the air, and the Houston kid grabbed it and everything, and all of a sudden, there we stand, no time on the clock, game gone, you know, but I congratulate Neil Brown and his group, and they've made us proud, and they continue to make us proud and continue to do so. We've got a big game against Oklahoma State, you know, this week, and so let's get that one and get back on the right foot and everything. And Marshall's got a great team. You know, Coach Huff is doing an incredible job. They play a big Sun Belt game with James Madison tonight, and so let's get that one and get on our way. But boy, I'll tell you, this state's cooking right now. You know, and as far as sports, it's amazing. You know, I think about you know, the Milan Park Sports Facility that we just went and, you know, gave some money to and really got them, you know, a little boost there and everything. But what they're doing there is unbelievable. A lot of great stuff happening in the sports community in the state. But Dr. Marsh has got a COVID update, and that's all I've got.
Hi, this is Clay Marsh, and it's great to join the governor and each of you today to give a update around COVID-19 and some of the other viruses that might cause problems this winter. The date of this update is October 18th, and I'd like to share a few new things with you that's come through the medical literature, and also share some perspectives with you to make sure that you are keeping yourself and your family healthy and able to be active and do all the things that you want to do this winter. We now have a third vaccine for COVID-19. Remember, we have had the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, and this new vaccine is from Novavax. And it is a different kind of vaccine, like we've used before for many other immunizations. And it is an older technology, but very effective. And if you have not had an updated COVID shot and you decide that you want this more traditional vaccine, which is also equally as effective as the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, then if you have already had shots, you would take a single shot of this vaccine. If you've already had a Pfizer or Moderna shot, you would not need a shot of this vaccine. And if you've never had a vaccine before, the recommendations would be for you to take 2 doses of this vaccine, 3 to 8 weeks separated in time. And this vaccine is for all Americans over 12 years old, and the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine are recommended for all Americans over 6 months old. And remember, the most severe complications of COVID-19 still are seen in people that are older and people that are immunocompromised. And when we say immunocompromised, as a reminder, we mean people that are actively taking therapy like chemotherapy or getting treated for immune problems like rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease. And if you are in this category, you would definitely want to make sure that you are becoming vaccinated. And it would be really important to talk to your primary care provider to make sure that you have all of the right instructions if you're at very high risk. We also remind everybody that we do have a lot of resources at the website vaccinate.wv.gov, and that includes the vaccine calculator for eligibility for COVID-19, and also to help you to find out where you can get the vaccine. And many places that you can check with your primary care provider, your county health office. You can also check with pharmacies. Many places carry these vaccines, and it's good to call ahead to make sure that those vaccines are available and the specific type of vaccine is available that you want to get. More information is coming out on long COVID. And remember, long COVID is a problem with persistent symptoms after an initial infection with COVID. And in a really, I think, important study from the University of Pennsylvania, researchers looked at blood samples and stool samples from a number of patients that were suffering long COVID. And what they looked for were blood markers and blood hormones that were changed in people who did and didn't have long COVID symptoms, and also compared people with the most severe long COVID symptoms with people with less severe long COVID symptoms. And what they found was that there was a neurotransmitter called serotonin, and serotonin is part of what gives our body balance, helps us stay happy, helps our GI tract work well, helps our brains function well. And what these investigators found was that in the stool samples of people that had long COVID, there was evidence of fragments of the virus. And the belief is that the immune system fighting against these fragments of the virus in the GI tract are starting to produce hormones and inflammatory proteins called interferons. And these inflammatory proteins cause damage and injury to the GI tract and make the GI tract less able to absorb another transmitter called tryptophan, which is what we get in turkey and what makes us kind of sleepy if we take too much of it. But that tryptophan is converted to serotonin. And at least in some animal models, if the investigators in the study treated the animals with medications that increased the levels of serotonin, then the long COVID symptoms that they were seeing in these animals that were made to have the symptoms of long COVID started to get a lot better. So what's really exciting is this is an opportunity perhaps for us to intervene and to see in a more specific way if we can identify people with long COVID symptoms who have low amounts of serotonin and who may benefit from using medications that elevate serotonin, which we use all the time. So that's a new finding that I think could be really, really important. Also, and I touched on this just a minute ago, but I want to just reinforce, people who are older are still the people who are having the most problems with the most severe consequences of COVID-19 and are dying with it. When we look at the number of people over 65 who have died in the United States over the last several weeks, the majority are over 65 years old, and every decade that you get older, the higher the risk that you'll have more severe consequences of COVID-19. And we know that it's really important that that people in this age category and people with other risk factors like immunocompromised status that we talked about previously really do focus on getting the COVID vaccine, because the COVID vaccine, the new updated COVID vaccine, reduces your risk of having these severe consequences and dying by over 80%. And that is really important. And the reason why we really are recommending you get the new vaccine is because COVID continues to change. And this new vaccine will give you protection against the most recent forms of COVID-19 that we find circulating in the US and in West Virginia. I'd like to pivot here for a second and talk about two other respiratory viruses that we see in the winter. The first one is one that you may not have heard of, which is respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. RSV was really, really problematic for people in our country last year. We had a really bad RSV season. And in babies, because of really small airways, RSV infections can cause a lot of inflammation in the airways and can cause the airways to make it really hard for babies to breathe. And in older Americans, we also know that RSV can cause substantial problems. And in fact, it's been found earlier this winter season that if somebody has RSV and goes to the hospital, they are more likely to need oxygen therapy and more likely to go to the ICU than even in people who are in the hospital with COVID-19. And the COVID-19, we know that if you do have evidence of COVID-19, the medication Paxlovid can be also really important. So that's a reason to test yourself for COVID-19. If you do develop symptoms or runny nose or bad sinus problems and you are in risk categories, then you want to contact your primary care physician or your healthcare team. If you test negative, then we worry about viruses like the respiratory syncytial virus. There is a new set of vaccines that are available for adults over 60, and we would really recommend that you consider getting one of these vaccines as well. And there's also immune antibodies like we use for COVID that's available for children 8 months and older going into this winter season. And we definitely recommend that you consult your pediatrician and consider getting these vaccinations and the immune antibody for your children and the vaccination if you're over 60 years old. And as always, the other infection that happens during the winter is influenza, and we're starting to see some cases, the flu. We're starting to see cases of the flu now circulate. So this is a really good time for you to get your flu vaccine too, which not only protects you from getting the flu, but it importantly protects you from having the most severe consequences of the flu. And as always, we very much recognize and appreciate the leadership of the governor in helping navigate West Virginia through the most unexpected infectious disease problem, at least in the U.S. of our lifetime, and continuing to do so through the challenges that are coming to our population in the winter with new infections. So, Governor, thank you so much. And as always, it's great to be with you and the people of West Virginia.
Clay, thank you, and that's all we got right now, and we'll take your questions.
All right, thank you, Governor. Next, or first today, we'll go to Bob Aaron with WCHS.
Governor, how significant is it for you to get the endorsement of President Trump? You were already headed in the polls and fundraising, but it was sort of a wild card that could have gone to either candidate.
Well, Bob, first and foremost, you know, I've thought this was coming for a good while. I surely did not take it for granted and everything. In fact, I told the president, I told him this a long time ago, but I said, I am not one to ask a former president and hopefully a prospective new president serving his second term. You know, I'm not going to ask. It's not my place to ask for an endorsement. That's all there is to it. Others may do that and run to do that and everything, but in my world, you know, Donald Trump would do that on his time when he feels like that that's what he wants to do. You know, I think the world of the Trump family. I always have. I've said that many, many, many times. I think he did a whale of a job as our president. I think right now, if we had him, we wouldn't be in these disputes all over the world. And it's a big honor. You know, it's surely an honor to have been significantly ahead of Alex Mooney. And you know, but from the standpoint of where Alex Mooney goes now, I think he'll drop out of the race, and I think I don't know exactly what he'll do. I don't know if he'll run for the Congress or not, but I don't really know for sure that he's going to drop out of the race. But I think that's what'll happen. And so, with all that being said, again, first and foremost, I absolutely want everybody to know that I know the Trump family, and I know them really, really, really well. The thing about Donald Trump that is so hard for people to see, because he wants to be a tough guy, and he is. He absolutely is a leader. But in all that, I have said it, and I've said it 10 million times. Donald Trump cares about us. He genuinely doesn't need to do this, and for God's sakes, 11, it is a crying, pitiful shame how absolutely people beat on him nonstop. And I get a little taste of that and everything. It's not even fun, but I can't imagine what he's had to go through. With all that being said and everything, at the end of the day, if you don't believe this, you've got a screw really loose. And that is just this: Donald Trump cares for us. And he genuinely cares for us in West Virginia. So we should always remember that. I thank him more than you'll know, and I thank his family more than you'll know. They're friends, and that's where I'm going to stand, and that's where I'm going to stand rock solid. From the standpoint of, where Alex Mooney goes or whatever he does, I've tried as hard as I could to not cast stones. And all that being said, he's served us as a congressman, and from that standpoint, anybody that steps up and serves in any way, we should be respectful and go on down the road. So nevertheless, I am very thankful to President Trump.
All right, thanks, Bob. Next, we'll go to Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. Governor, the other day during the Joint Finance Committee during the interim meetings, Secretary Dave Hardy talked a little bit about the process of starting to put together next year's budget. I know a lot of the agency presentations are ongoing, but could you talk a little bit about your expectations for your proposed budget for the next fiscal year? Do you anticipate submitting a relatively flat budget yet again? Thank you.
Charles, I would say that, that's probably correct. We'll have many meetings, with, that'll be budget talks with the cabinet secretaries and lots of people. I don't want to pass on the question, from the standpoint of say, oh, we're going to still have a lot of meetings, we'll do this and that and all that kind of stuff. I'm hopeful that we can get another pay raise across the finish line. I'm hopeful that that if we continue to build surplus dollars, we'll dedicate dollars to continuing to do any and everything we possibly can to upgrade our roads and our highways. That project is ongoing, but we've done so much it's unbelievable, but there's still more to do. And so with all that being said, I am not a fan of just bloated projects and everything, or I'm not a fan of building base, that makes your obligation in the future even more and more difficult. We want to make investments in West Virginia that will absolutely be there and provide job opportunities for years and years and decades to come. We've done it, Charles. We've done it. Absolutely. My dad would say, you done it. But really, with all that being said, anybody that's fair in any way, we started out with a tough hand, and we've played that hand and played it properly and everything, and now we're cooking. And just think, I'm on the way here in just a few minutes. I'm going down. Marshall is dedicating a practice gym facility. And at the same time, right before that, I'm meeting with the Nucor people. And tomorrow, Nucor is going to launch and everything. It is unbelievable what is getting ready to happen in Mason County and all across the state. There's project after project. More and more job opportunities. That didn't happen by just falling off a log. It took a lot of work, a lot of hard work, and a lot of people pulling the rope. So with all that being said, Charles, I am not one, to say, oh, this is how it's going to be right now. We've got a lot of work to do to put the thing together, but I am not in favor of just bloating the budget because you happen to have the dollars, and then that's going to put us in a tough situation years and years ahead of, now. So yeah, a flat budget it'll be close. It'll be close to that, and, we want to continue, like I said, to make more and more goodness happen. You know, there's still a bunch of things we got to do, and we're going to keep at it.
All right, thanks, Charles. Next to Mark Curtis with Nextar Media.
Governor, good afternoon. I want to ask you about the indictment of a high-level DHHR official indicted over the expenditure of COVID funds and the accounting of the number of tests that were done and actually returned. I'm not asking you about the specifics of the case. It's front-page news today because I know it's a legal matter. But I want to get your impressions. What are your concerns about this, that there was such an apparent discrepancy in the number of tests that were done and the payments that were sent out to the total of $34 million? And what do you say to the general public that their tax dollars, both the federal dollars that come from Washington and our state funds, are properly accounted for, and that this is going to get a proper looking into, because this is quite concerning that this man was indicted for apparently misappropriation of money and for services that were never rendered when it came to COVID. So if you could address to assure the taxpayers that someone in your office or in the government is going to be a watchdog on this.
Well, Mark, there's several facets to your question. Let me make a stab at it as best I can. First of all, it's a legal matter, and there's only so much I can say. From the standpoint of really looking after the store and everything, and looking after dollars, I mean, how we managed, our CARES dollars, and how we managed, everything that was going on at that time. I think it'd be really difficult to argue, that we did not manage that. I mean, that we managed that. I mean, we didn't manage it well. I mean, that's all there is to it, because we really took care of the store, and we did it as proper as I could possibly have done it, and our group could have possibly done it. But with all that being said, this gentleman, and I can't speak of the specifics, because first of all, I don't know all the specifics, and second of all, it's a criminal offense and everything. And so with all that being said, I think it's got to play out. And from a legal standpoint, I can't comment too much on it. But Mark, I can say this, at the time all this was happening, everybody was just, good gracious, Mark, just think about it. I mean, what were all of us doing to try to get test kits and anything? For crying out loud, the federal government was throwing money in every direction known to man, because they had to. They had to. And the guidance was absolutely at the very best that it could be, considering the magnitude of what everybody thought the emergency level was. So with that, I'm not excusing, bad conduct here in any way. There's no excuse for that. But I don't know all the specifics to what was going on, but I can tell you, to say that it was a confusing time, to say it was not a challenging time, I mean, for crying out loud, Mark, it was tough stuff. That's all there is to it. And I think we give, Tim Pretty, his fair days. And so with that being said, we'll find out as we're going forward. But, Tim Pretty is suspended at this time from the DHHR, and we'll have to let the courts make the decision on his fate. That's for sure.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next, we'll go to Stephen Adams with Ogden Newspapers.
Yeah, Steve Adams of Ogden Newspapers here. Governor, you signed and the legislature passed the bill to appropriate $45 million to Marshall University for their Institute for Cybersecurity. I understand that bill was put on the special session call at the request of Marshall and lawmakers, and you ended up putting it on the call. And of course, you signed the bill. But it's come to my attention that you own a small piece of property, or James C. Justice Companies Incorporated own a small parking lot that's right across the street from where the cybersecurity center is being built currently. So my question for you is, I didn't know if during the process of the special session, whether you or your staff had told lawmakers or had made aware to any lawmakers that you all had owned property right there. Thank you.
Stephen, now come on, Stephen. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, let's don't be completely silly. I mean, you know, I had no idea where they're even going to build it. You know, and we've had a parking lot down there, and you know, if this is built close to the parking lot, yay. You know, but this is. I don't know where we're going with this stuff. You know, I know we were, you know, I would like to comment just a second about the Morgantown Industrial Park, because, you know, that was the latest, greatest thing and everything, that we're going to build a bridge to my benefit for the, you know, for basically on the Morgantown Industrial Park. Well, just think about this, Stephen, the Morgantown Industrial Park, that property, I was there and just cut the ribbon and did all the stuff in regard to the bridge and the roadway that's going to go in there and everything. We got 400 trucks going through a small community and everything that we can alleviate with doing that, and that park is going to be unbelievable, you know, of the successes. Honest to goodness, and God take me from the earth this second. When I was there, I had no earthly clue that this property was even remotely associated with property that my dad and Lawson Hamilton and Buck Harris and Cecil Underwood bought 5,000 years ago, found out that it had some kind of, environmental problem, got rid of it 500 years ago, and I do think, you know, from now, after it was all brought up and everything, we've checked out, I do think that our family still has some mineral rights on that property. But how in the world is that bridge going to affect the mineral rights of gas underneath that land? But I had no earthly clue in a million years. Stephen, we got a lot of stuff in a lot of different directions, but all I can do is tell you the truth. And you know, from the standpoint of down at Marshall and everything, you know, that little parking lot area and everything, you know, I really to this moment don't know exactly the location that this is being built. But you know, Steve, I can't do any more in life than tell people and serve as your governor and not want a thing. The last thing on earth, anybody that would say from right at the get-go, they don't want anything. They don't want any special favors. They don't want anything, Stephen. You know, they don't want to take a salary. They drive themselves, I mean, for God's sakes, a living. You know, I don't know how I can make it any more plain, but we do have stuff across the state, you know, and we have a family that started out with nothing, and we've built an empire along the way. But Stephen, where that property is located versus what is going to be built down there, I don't know how they touch or complement one another in any way.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Next, we'll go to Brad McElhenney with West Virginia Metro News.
Hi, Governor. If PEIA has premium increases again for the coming fiscal year, if it does, would that be considered on your watch? Thank you.
Brad, I guess we started down the process of coming to maybe a permanent fix for PEIA. In doing so, what I've tried to do all along is to, you know, basically give pay raises, significant pay raises enough that took care of any premium increase, you know, and then, you know, had additional dollars on top of that. You know, the legislature last year, changed the law and made the plan an 80-20 plan. And so, but what we got to do, and what I would be really, really supportive of doing is, as we have to have increases or whatever it may be, I don't want our folks to feel that pain. And so that's what I want to do, is be able to cover that, at least cover it, if not more dollars, to cover it with pay raises. And but I don't want our folks feeling that level of pain. We can figure a methodology to be able to do it with our folks feeling the pain.
All right, thanks, Brad. Governor, back to you.
Okay, guys, that's all I've got. I would tell you that I love the fact that today's my mom's birthday, and I'm talking about Posey Perry. Again, I want to thank President Trump. And I truly believe he's going to not only be our Republican nominee for the presidency, but I think he's going to win it. And God knows, I think we need that level of leadership back. I think we struggle all over the place. You see it every day. But I want to take time again to congratulate Kenne Cook. I mean, what an accomplishment. You just keep wearing those boys out. That's really good, girl. And so, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing again and everything. Get out and see God's work outside right now. It's really good, really beautiful. Thank y'all.